raise some Cain. You gotta raise some Cain. In the heartland where the faith runs strong, we've seen the shadows growing long. Watch those around us be deceived. Yeah, the fight is at our doors, no matter who we believe. Corruption, lawless day and night, we'll speak the truth into the light. We'll bring the battle, heed the call, watch the whole thing fall. We gotta raise some Cain, show the lies, break some chains and make things right. Feel the power, be the change, time is now. We gotta raise some Cain.
Welcome to the Raising Cain Show, where we explore the stories of remarkable individuals making a difference in our nation. Today, we have the pleasure of introducing an extraordinary guest whose dedication to civic action and community engagement is truly inspiring. Jennifer Hillegas is a dynamic force for change. She is the wife of retired U.S. Air Force Captain Gordon Hillegas and a devoted mother of four. In her professional life, Jennifer is a full-time real estate broker and the owner of Sign Your Deed Realty, where she successfully sells approximately 100 properties each year. Beyond her impressive career, Jennifer has emerged as a passionate advocate for civic responsibility. Since 2023, she has served as the North Georgia State Coordinator for Tactical Civics, a role she's embraced during the COVID-19 pandemic. Inspired by the powerful message of American Covenant, Jennifer was driven by the question of how we, the people, can reclaim, change, alter, or abolish our government when it becomes too corrupt. Thanks to Donald Duggan and the Tactical Civics Full Spectrum Action Plan, Jennifer has committed herself to the cause. Starting in 2022, she began hosting a meet and greet, sometimes up to 8 to 10 people per month, to spread the word and demonstrate to every freedom-loving American their highest civic duty. Her efforts have been nothing short of extraordinary, leading countless individuals to join the movement through her interviews and meetings. Please join us in welcoming the inspiring Jennifer Hillegas to the show as we delve into her journey, her work with Tactical Civics, and her unwavering commitment to make a difference in our communities. So, Jennifer, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on your show.
So whereabouts? Tell us where you live in Georgia. So whereabouts in Georgia are you at?
I live in Rome, Georgia. It's about an hour northwest of Atlanta, about 60 miles northwest of Atlanta.
Okay.
And about 60 miles southwest of Chattanooga. Yeah, we're kind of in the middle.
Okay. All right. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about how you got started with working with Tactical Civics and how did you meet these guys? How did you first find out about them?
It took me a little while to find them. During the COVID lockdown, I read a book called The American Covenant by Marshall Foster. Inside of that book, it's a very easy read. It's the book that Kirk Cameron used to catapult the American Campfire Revival. I don't know if you remember that at that time, but he was doing that every day on Facebook, and it was Facebook Live, and he would have a campfire going, and it was at his house. So anyway, he had met Marshall Foster on an airplane, and Marshall gave him his book. So I read the book. I had the book before COVID-19 hit, and we were all in lockdown. And yeah, I just kept yelling at the TV. I'm like, you don't lock down a free country. That's not what, you don't do that here. You do that in a communist country. That's not the way this works, you know? Yeah. So I started reading that book, and it reminded me of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and the part about when one form of government becomes so corrupt that the people cannot enjoy life or liberty and the pursuit. It says the pursuit of happiness now. It used to say property. I just learned that the other day. Someone else told me that and showed me that. So they took out property and put pursuit of happiness. So makes you understand now why they can charge us property taxes. So anyway, the question was, after I read that book, after I read that part of the book, how do you do it? How
Right.
do you, if one form of government becomes so corrupt that we cannot enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, then we, the people, have the responsibility to alter it, abolish it, start over new. But how do we do that? So inside of our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution, we have two law enforcement tools that we were not taught about in school. Okay. So I didn't know this at the time. I read the book and I started asking myself, how do we do it? How do we do it? And then I started asking other people. You know, I'm a Christian. I have Christian convictions to help our country. Our country is broken right now. And you know that it breaks God's heart to see his people suffer like under the corruption that we're under. Yeah. Okay. The level, the extent of it, it's sickening. So I couldn't sit around. I mean, as you read my bio, you can tell I don't sit around anyway, but I can't sit around knowing what I know now and not do something about it. So
it sounds like you and I are cut from the same cloth. I feel the same way.
There's a lot of Americans that are cut this way, that they're looking for answers and they want to know, what can I do now? What can I do now? We can take back our country. We can be on the top again. I'm going to talk to you about how we once were on the top. And then I'll show you the solution, how we can be back on top. Okay, so I read the book, started praying about it. You know, how do I do this, God? Show me, show me, show me. One day, I was talking to a very dear client of mine, Donald Duggan, and I was telling him about that book. And I said, I have this burning question inside of me and I need the answer. And he said, what is it? And I said, well, you know that part about the Declaration, when one form of government becomes too corrupt, what do? You take it back, you change it, you fix it. But how do we do it? He goes, you need to be involved in Tactical Civics. It's a group that my brother's involved in Texas. See, they're from Texas, and we were doing a deal over here in Georgia. He lives in Georgia now. He said, you need to be involved in it. I said, okay, text me the information and I'll look at it. I'm like, if it's political, I don't like politics really. I don't like them, but I like civics. So he showed it to me and I thought, oh, this is it. This is the answer. It's a full spectrum action plan to restore our republic. I
had a similar experience in that I had worked on election integrity and had been a part of a team after the 2020 election. And I came back home and I was very depressed because we had plenty of evidence of wrongdoing, but it was clear that there was, deep-seated corruption within the administrative state and within the courts and everything. And I just thought, what can we do? And so I started kind of working on a plan for, how we could take back, but there was a couple of key elements that, I didn't have an answer for. Like, how do you deal with a corrupt FBI? How do you deal with what if those who administer the law are corrupt? How do you deal with them? And how do you do it in a constitutional way? And so I was on an X Spaces, and I heard Jeff Calhoun talking about Tactical Civics, and he started talking about the grand jury and the militia. And when I heard those things and heard him describe what they were and saw, where he pointed out in the Constitution what the purpose is of, the militia, that it's not just some military unit, that's formed up during wartime, but that they have a job during peacetime to administer the law. It all kind of just made sense. And I was like, wow, how do we get this back? And so that's when I really discovered Tactical Civics. So
So I'm here to help give people hope and show them their true power. And so what we have to do is re-educate. It's a re-education phase right now. And right now, Tactical Civics is in the infancy stages of building membership. Once you get the numbers up, then you can't be stopped. So the mission takes half of 1% of your county's population to sign up and get into the training center. So tacticalcivics.com is the training center that's going to teach the responsible, repentant remnant how to conduct common law grand jury, because the Constitution is the highest law of the land.
Right.
It's higher than the Supreme Court of the United States. We, the people, are the sovereign of the nation together. It's not me by myself or you, Nate, by yourself. It's all of us working together in tandem. And we are the only human authority that will enforce our Constitution. Government's not going to investigate government. Sorry, they're not going to do it. So we have to do it. And in the 17 and 1800s, every American knew that their highest civic duty was grand jury and constitutional militia. Our generation has been taught the lie. What's the lie? If you don't like your congressman or woman, what do? You go vote? How's that working? It's not.
Yeah, not so good.
And it didn't. And there were other times in history that it didn't. Mark Twain was quoted as saying, if voting really mattered, they wouldn't let us do it. So, I mean, he was alive in the 1800s,
Oh, boy.
So,
Well, when you have 700,000 people, it's also difficult to be, a representative to all 700,000. I ran a campaign that was truly a grassroots campaign. We put over 60,000 miles on our vehicle. I'd say it was probably closer to 90 because we had a rental car for about 3 months. And we drove all over the place. We talked to, thousands of people. And I ended up with 13,000 votes, roughly. And but it just wasn't enough to overcome the money, that was involved in the race. And so to me, if the only way that you can win is through massive amounts of money, that's a problem right there. And I think that leads to corruption. It leads to, these members going into Congress already beholden to somebody other than their constituent. So I agree. And I think that there are things that need to be done, but I think that Tactical Civics has some of those answers, which is why I've had, why I've had some others on to talk about this. So you mentioned the full spectrum action plan of Tactical Civics. What do you mean by that?
Tactical Civics so they have a plan to restore the Republic back. So there are certain things that weren't finished at the beginning of the startup of our country. And one of those was our original first right. So the founder of Tactical Civics, he is a genius. His name is David Zuniga, and he has written so many books to help us all understand. And his books can be purchased on Amazon. Most of them are less than $12. But he has written Our First Right. The second edition is what you would want to buy. How Congress Stole the First Right in the Original Bill of Rights, and How We the People in America's Heartland Can Restore the People's House. This book explains part of it's part of the plan, the mission. And I think it's only like 25 pages long, or it's about 20 pages long. It's real easy to read. I think it's like $5 or $6, but it essentially brings, and this is the one thing that President George Washington stood up and actually, for the whole convention, he expressed his concern about our congressional districts being too big. He wanted them to be one representative per 30,000 people. So under our plan, it'd be one per 50,000. Mm-hmm. So, there's some districts that have over 800,000 people. There's no way that you can represent that many people and their interest. But that's part of it. Then there's the Bring Congress Home Act. There's no reason for people to be meeting in DC with all the corporate, with all the heads of the corporations. I mean, it's gotten out of control to the point that the corporations are writing the laws. It's not Congress.
Well,
they're
and that
to write the laws.
that's how you end up with these laws that are, it's a stack this big, and they don't have time. They'll read it after they vote on it.
Yeah. Just
because
you vote and read it
you
later.
got a bunch of lobbyists and stuff that are doing the writing of the bills. We had my campaign had an interesting experience where something that kept coming up everywhere was parents' rights, and people were wanting the Parents' Bill of Rights everywhere I went. So I said, well, why don't we just do it? So we did. We got together with some of our volunteers, and we wrote a Parents' Bill of Rights. I took it to a lawyer that was volunteering for my campaign as a constitutional attorney. I said, hey, can you look at this and do your wordsmith magic on it to make it so that it would work as a law.
Legally.
And so he wrote it up, and then we submitted it. We went down, lobbied our state legislature, and we got them to the House. We found a sponsor, and it passed the House. Unfortunately, it died in the Senate, so we're going to try it again because we got a new Senate coming in that's going to be, I think, much better. But
thank you for your work on that. That's going to be good.
It was exciting. I mean, it was the first time I ever saw that we have just as much power as a lobbyist does. Yeah. In fact, that's where that word lobbyist comes from. Is originally it was the people who stood out and waited outside in the lobby so they could talk to their congressman. That's where that term comes from.
Right.
And so I think it's important that we engage and that we get involved, and we can actually have a huge impact on what our legislators are doing. And we just have to get off our butts and do it.
That's right. We have chores to do, and so our organization, our mission is to help teach you how to do those chores, and use the sword and the shield that's been provided by our founding fathers. Were geniuses. They lived under tyranny. They knew what it was like, and they knew what they didn't want to have happen. They knew how to figure out how to accept and take on the responsibility of not only fighting for the freedom, but to keep the freedom. And the scripture, the whole world's lying in the power of the wicked one, has never been more evident than it is today. What's good is bad and what's bad is good. And
oh yeah,
you're right about the money. The love of money is the root of all evil. God in his infinite wisdom was warning us all. And so it's time to wake up. Like, in my opinion, people say, oh, I'm awake. I understand about what's going on with the little kids and this and that. And to me, you're not really awake until you're involved in tactical civics and you're actually doing the work to help bring up the responsible, repentant remnant. The people that want to learn. Like, I know there are people at home sitting here, and Satan's already planting that little seed. Well, what can you do? What can when you hear that little voice that tells you you're not good enough, or what can you do? Well, that's Satan. He's trying to discourage you and keep you. He don't want you to rise up. He don't want you to go toward the light or shine your light and help other people understand that we're not the victims. We can rise up. We can do this. We can take back our country. Every county has criminality inside. It has corruption. Okay. Either it's, well, I don't want to tell who all it is, but you live there, you see them, you see what they do. Everybody has that. So the question is, when are you going to get off the couch and do something about it? Instead of complaining. And I'm not talking about jumping into politics, because the county grand jury learning that and then teaching it to the younger people, anybody it doesn't matter what your political preference is. Anybody can do this. The bottom line is, do you want justice? Do you want justice? Because if you want to see justice, then this is where you need to be. Because
can you sorry, go ahead.
that's okay, because once we get the base built up, then we, the people, will get the justice from the criminal politicians. We will hold them accountable. They will lose their seat, whatever position they're in, and it could be somebody that's not even a politician. It could be somebody that's an employee inside of the police department that's corrupt, But we have historic account of we the people doing this work inside of there's a book called The People's Panel. It was written by Richard D. Younger, and it was out of print when David found it. When David Zuniga found it, he bought the rights to reprint it. You can buy it on Amazon. It will show you examples of Americans doing this work inside of our court. And I'm not talking about a court that's run by the district attorney. That's different.
Can you explain it? Can you give us an example of like how this would work?
Of how it would work? Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's talk about how it is today. All right, so You're called in for jury duty, and you go in, and you're questioned by the district attorney and the defense attorney, right? And you have to sit. You've seen it on TV where you sit. Have you ever served in jury duty?
I have luckily been able to get out of it every time, mainly because I've always lived like more than 50 miles away from where the courts were. So,
okay. So I have been lucky enough to be inside of court. It took a whole week to find out both sides. It could have been done in a day. Okay. First of all, it took a whole week. And as a juror, the defense and the district attorney, they know before they pick you, they know about you. They ask you questions. Do you have children? What kind of job do you have? Do you have a pet? Do you have a dog or a cat? They know all about you. So they know if they're going to be able to manipulate you by their line of questioning. So you go in and you listen. You're a good little juror. You're sitting there listening. And then you're supposed to go deliberate and figure out if somebody is innocent or not. But you don't get to ask that witness any questions. You've just got to think, were they telling me the truth? Like you have to have a little bit of discernment maybe about it. But this is how it goes wrong. This is how innocent people get put in jail. Okay, because witnesses sometimes get threatened. Because, we've all got skeletons, right, in our closet. Most everybody's got skeletons in their closet. So, for example, there was this one case in Rome, Georgia. These two men spent 25 years in prison. You can watch their story on Proof Crime. It's on YouTube. But they spent 25 years in prison because one of the witnesses was threatened because the police found out that she had a party with underage people there. So the police said, if you don't tell us what we want to hear, we'll take your kids from you because we know about your party. So she lied under oath and said that one of the defendants had been at her party and admitted to killing somebody. That defendant had never even met the witness. Never, not even 1 second had he ever met her. And he spent 25 years in prison because of it. Now, if we had our common law grand jury, we could have investigated that dirty cop. Yeah. And see, the power inside of county grand jury is that all the jurors are the judge. You use the clerk of the court to get your open records request for free. Then you call in your witnesses without a district attorney, and you ask the witnesses question, and that's your power. You get to find the truth.
Wow. So now, are they able to subpoena then people to come to the grand jury then?
Yeah, you can subpoena the DA if you need to ask the DA questions. You can subpoena them as a witness. You can subpoena a judge as a witness. You can subpoena the sheriff. You can subpoena whoever you need to find the truth.
Now, once the grand jury has convened and they've met and they've decided, this cop is dirty and we need to go and bring an arrest warrant. Who does that?
So for arrest, you you can use your sheriff, but if the sheriff won't cooperate, then you call up your constitutional militia.
Right.
The
And that's
constitutional militia is like just above a peace officer.
right.
Constitutional militia can help the sheriff. Say the sheriff has a dirty cop that's into drugs. Maybe they're with, the Mexican mafia or something, and the sheriff's scared to be the target. You know what I mean? Because they have that's a real thing that could happen. So he would call up, people that he knows that's involved in the civic aspect of constitutional militia, and ask them to.
I heard an example given of the constitutional militia that made a lot of sense to me. We have volunteer fire companies in many of the rural counties of West Virginia, and it's kind of the same thing. You've got a basically volunteers that are trained and are properly armed and trained on law enforcement techniques or whatever, and they become an authority that can go and make arrests and serve search warrants and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it makes perfect sense. One of the big problems that I see right now in our Justice Department is that you've got the fox guarding the hen house, and there's nobody watching them.
That's
and we know, for example, there have been multiple cases, and this has been released through various news articles, and where judges have found that the FBI has illegally targeted U.S. citizens to spy on them using, the Section 702 of FISA, where they've spied on American citizens, violating their Fourth Amendment. And it's in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And yet I can't remember a single person going to jail for that. Not one, FBI agent, has gone to jail for that.
But it's definitely a rogue agency. That's for
without
sure.
Without a doubt. And so I would be curious to know if it would be possible to utilize something like this, to go after, FBI agent that's been doing things that aren't correct as well. I suppose that there's some jurisdictional issues where you'd have to get them while they're in your county.
Well, if they come to Georgia, in Georgia, our Georgia Constitution is almost word for word the United States Constitution. So I would say it probably anywhere that they would go, you'd be able to do it. But according to the Georgia Constitution, under Article 1, Section 1, Paragraph 2, Paragraph 5, Paragraph 9, Paragraph 12, we the people have the right to petition our grand jury with any grievance, anything that we see that's suspicious. And if we
one area that I could see where this would be very effective and very useful is in the case of the elections.
Yes.
We've had these elections, and you had multiple cases that were brought from multiple states. The one case that was brought to the Supreme Court, and they said, we're not taking this on the case of you don't have any standing with the Supreme Court. And and in that case, I was actually an expert witness on that case, and I could see this being a very effective tool because it's at the local level. And so if you brought a case against some corrupt individuals that are involved in a precinct or something like that, where they were doing ballot stuffing, I could see this, being a door to open to be able to get in there and actually examine the ballots, examine the, possibly even the machines. So that's kind of interesting.
The proof's there. And there's been several instances in Georgia. You just take Georgia, for example. We had True the Vote, Catherine Engelbright, and Catherine Engelbright. She had to come to Georgia back in January for a lawsuit. The judge ruled in her favor. And in his summary, he said that it was apparent that there were more than 360,000 illegally registered voters on the voter rolls right now, today, in Georgia.
Mhm.
But did he do anything about it?
No.
He did what he could. Now, remember, he's one person. He would have a target on his back really quick if he did anything more than mention it. Okay. So it was a gift that he gave us that he even mentioned it. Okay. So there's that. Then you have a couple of months ago, the state election board in Georgia, the state election board, Dr. Johnson, had it on record that there's over 375,000 ballots just in Fulton County missing.
Mhm.
So that's public record. Then I have an expert witness up here that I've helped with election integrity. And we put all 159 counties on notice that they were to preserve the 2020, 2021, 2022 elections, that they were to preserve those ballots and keep those. We did that on purpose. And then we went out, and in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, there's 14 counties at the time in 2020. We went, and the expert witness that I'm friends with, he went to 12 counties. Now, when you are a poll worker, you have in Dominion voting machine, they have tabulation tapes. The tabulation tapes, you print off 3 of those. One gets taped to the front door of the polling location. One gets taken with the little chip that comes out of the machine and goes to the Board of Elections office. The other scanner tape, which is your receipt, according to Dominion's definition, that's your receipt of your ballots that was in that box. So you take all of those ballots out of the scanner, put them in a box, and that tabulation tape is signed by 3 people at the precinct, the manager and 2 assistant managers. The poll manager, 2 assistant poll managers sign that. That's by law. They have to sign it. Well, guess what? In 12 counties, only 3 counties had 100% of those tapes. The other 9 counties, as much as 90% of the tapes were missing. So you can't even count the ballots you can't even audit the ballots. So
that's a violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 when they do not
and the
maintain
commission,
those records.
the commissioners, the elitists, the criminal cabal system of politicians, they want you to believe that you're limited in what you can do as a poll watcher and as a citizen, as a voter, as a citizen of this country. But we have the right to investigate our elections. And that was what the constitutional militia was for. I mean, those and the grand jury, those were some of the main things that they were supposed to do is investigate elections, repeal insurrections, and secure our borders. So I can show you, some people want to, they want to compare constitutional militia as, dirty, oh, don't say that because, well, I can tell you that peacefully it's been done, and it's been done this year. Do you remember when the truck drivers went down to the border? Did anybody die? No. That's your constitutional militia. That's an example of constitutional militia. So it can be done peacefully, and it can be utilized peacefully. And we have to stop allowing the left to add definitions that are not true.
They love to change the language.
Don't let them change our vocabulary because it's the constitutional militia is a form of protection that the American people have against the government. And I believe it was George Washington. George Washington is probably one of my most favorite presidents of all time. I have a quote from him I want to read to you real quick, if I can find it real quick. Oh, he says, "A free people ought not only be armed and disciplined, but they should have sufficient arms and ammunition to maintain a status of independence from any who might attempt to abuse them, which would include their own government." That was Washington. He was quoted as saying that.
So Jennifer, I've got to cut to a commercial break to give a sponsor, give a word to our sponsors, but we will be back right away on the Raising Cain Show. And so stay tuned.
Not believe, no detergent, no hot water, no fabric softener. Now you even threw away all the chemicals to clean your home. I don't need to buy sprays to cut through grease. I don't need to buy window cleaners. I don't need to buy carpet shampoo. I don't need to buy things to mop my floor. I don't need to buy things to take pesticide off my vegetables, fruits, and fish. Oh my gosh, where did this come from? I'll tell you where it came from. It came from hospitals. This is actually a photo of a huge commercial hospital laundry technology that cost in excess of $100,000 if you bought that whole thing, and it'll fill up your garage. That's how big it is. And what we've done with the advent of microelectronic technology, my team and I constantly use microtechnology just like your smartphone. The new EcoWasher SE is a chemical-free laundry and cleaning solution. Imagine, no more detergent, no more chemicals, saves you money, pays for itself, gives you a healthier life, and simplifies doing laundry. And now we're going to include 2 free Thunder Pure Safe Air Minis that purifies your home and sanitizes your surfaces like a thunderstorm in nature, eliminates all odors. Plus, you're receiving $100 off by using code podcast on the new EcoWasher SE. Let me remind you, 2 free Thunder Pure Safe Air Minis plus $100 off during this podcast. Podcast is your coupon code at Eco.
Military use when they need unlimited power during critical missions. Civilians like you can now get their hands on the exact same technology within 24 hours for pennies on the dollar. Folks, as a former infantry soldier, I can tell you this is the best and cheapest way to get reliable, unlimited energy. And no, I'm not talking about regular generators or the expensive solar panels. You don't have to be an electrician to do it. There's no maintenance needed. It doesn't take up a lot of space. And the best part, you won't need to rely on the power grid anymore. Click below now and hit play. This marks the potential start of a third world war where we will be hit with a silent.
And we're back. Thanks, guys, for hanging in there. Please do remember to like and subscribe, and so you can be alerted every time that we're doing a show. And if you're not following me, you can follow me on Nate Cain for WV at pretty much all your social media. So whether that is X or Facebook, I'm also on Gab, Getter, and of course Truth Social. So Jennifer, we were getting into talking about this utilizing some of the tools that are available, and one of the things I want to talk to you about as well is you've been successful in being able to people to join this thing and get involved. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Something that I think people are kind of unsure start, how to motivate other people. Tell me a little bit about your meet and greets and what all is involved in that, how you started doing that, and what the level of success has been.
Yeah, so when I joined Tactical Civics, it was very, very tiny, and I'm like, "Ooh, we need to get this going." So I started having meet and greets. My first one was a lunchtime meet and greet, and we invited other like-minded freedom-loving patriots to the luncheon, and we explained to them about the mission, and it took about an hour. What I like to do is if my group is small enough, like 20 or less, maybe sometimes I'll do 30 or less, I go around, I get them to introduce themselves and ask them, how did you find out about our meeting and what made you decide to step into this room tonight, or today? What caused you to be here? And most of them are like, we're fed up with the way the government is going rogue. We want to do something. What most people want justice. That's what Tactical Civics is about, is teaching us how to get justice. So I like the meet and greet. It came about at a time when people were yearning for human connection again, because we were coming out of COVID, and it was the beginning of 2022, middle of 2022. So those have worked out really good, and most people joined then. Some people need to come a few times and listen to it more than once, and that's okay. So we're just patient with them. We meet them where they connect with us. So you can go to tacticalcivics.com, and there is an intro video there where you can learn more about our full spectrum action plan. And if you're ready to join, you can click the join button and fill out. There's a little jot form that you fill out about yourself, and then you pick the state that you're residing in, and then you go to take you to a link for Mighty Networks app. And there is where you pay. It's $5 a month if you just want to try it on and just see if you like it. Or if you don't like to waste money, you can pay $50 for the whole year, and that renews on the 1-year anniversary. The reason we charge a little fee is because we do have materials that are stored into the Mighty Networks app. You can access some of the books on audio. So you're going to get, when you become a member, you will get the Great We Set, which is
Definitely
one of my
recommend
favorite.
that book.
Do you have that book?
Yep, I've read it. It's very
Okay.
interesting.
It's a very easy read that David Zuniga wrote, and it lays out the whole plan. And so it's really good, and it shows the ordinances for our grand jury and our constitutional militia chapters. So what we're doing with the meet and greets is we're building chapters. I'm building a chapter right now as I'm doing a podcast. So if you have the gift of gab, we need more people to help us with podcasts. If you have the gift of gab and you want to rally the troops, so to speak, in your town, we are looking for coordinators in every county in America. And we have over 1,900 counties established with at least one member or more. And every state has an established coordinator. And so now we're going to the county. So there's 3,141 counties in America. So we need to get them all set up, and we need coordinators. And what we would love to see is at least 4 coordinators in each county having a meeting at least once a month to help spread the word and bring other people into the training center so that they can learn their highest civic duty. So for example, for Floyd County, I'd like to see 5 coordinators. I would like to have 5 coordinators. Right now I have 2. So Floyd County is the largest county land-wise in Georgia. So it'd be great to have one in the north, the south, the east, the west, and right in the center. So, and if we're all, having the opportunity to have a meeting once a month, then that covers 4 weeks out of the month, and then an extra one if you have an extra week out of that month. So, and we do need tech people that can help, bring a laptop to the meeting and help sign people up. It's best if you sign up on your cell phone. When you get into the system, we do request a picture of your face, not your dog's face, not your face with a mask, not your face with sunglasses, not your cat's face, but just a beautiful picture of yourself. And the reason for that is, the Bible tells us know who you labor with. So see who we're talking to. And inside of Mighty Networks, it is password protected, and that's how we talk to each other. We have Sunday night prayer call that anybody can join. Even if you're not a member of Tactical Civics, you can get on that prayer call. And you can go to Tactical Civics on Facebook. And inside of there, I post on Sunday night the phone number. So you can go to that. And then Monday through Friday, we have Zoom calls, which are training opportunities for you to learn more about our mission and to get your burning questions answered. And, it's more of a hands-on, how do I do this? It helps you with getting connected with other people in your county too. And, most everybody knows somebody that lives in another state or somebody that lives in another county. So I say, take what you're learning tonight and go tell somebody in the next 24 hours about the mission. And that way you get your little you kind of get your little elevator speech down, so to speak, so that you can confidently tell other people about the mission. But also inside of our training center, we have the books on audio. Some of the books are on audio. David has taken the time to have the Great Reset book on audio. And I think he has Time to Start Over America 2.0 militia in there also. So just if you can't read, if you're driving all day like I do, just turn it on and listen to it. And you can hear. And David also has a lot of podcasts that he's done, and he can explain the mission a lot more eloquently than I can. I mean, but he's the author of it. So of course he can just rattle it off, you know, a lot easier. It's just second nature to him. But get plugged in, get involved. I saw where you're endorsed by General Flynn, and General Flynn does endorse Tactical Civics, and he says get involved, you know.
Yep.
We just sit around and do nothing. You are the enemy's best ammunition, is what you are.
Absolutely.
And so even if you know what you should do and you don't do it, that's sin. So.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, that verse was on the back of my campaign T-shirt.
Oh,
so
I love it.
we had that. Anyone who knows what they ought to do and does not do it, it is sin for him.
Yes.
And you know, and I always like to quote what is it? It's the all that it takes for evil, you know, to prevail is for good men to do nothing.
Is for good men to do nothing. Yes.
Yeah, and that is so true. I mean, that's why we're where we at. That's why we are where we are at today in America. It's not because of evildoers. It's because of all the good people that just sat by and didn't do anything about it.
Well, and two, the institution of common law grand jury, it's been hidden from us for 160 years. It hasn't been taught, you know. So there's 5 generations that, for whatever reasons, I mean, well, we know the reasons. Okay, let's just be honest. We know the reasons now. It's very clear to our generation now. But yeah, so it's kind of hard to blame.
Do you have within you know, you've mentioned about your faith, and have you had any opportunities within, you know, the churches to reach out to them? Have you had any luck being able to get them involved? Because to me, I was researching this, and it looks like, you know, there's this powerful number of Christian conservatives that this would align very much with, you know, what we believe in. But oftentimes it seems like the churches are just not engaged civically. And
I can understand why they're not. When you look at, you know, 501c3 and how the luxury that affords your church. But David has written a book for church leaders. It's Tactical Civics for Church Leaders. And I have just joined a different church. So I don't know the gifts of everybody there just yet to be able to insert it, but I have a feeling that it'll be okay, and it'll come full circle. But yeah, you know, I don't know if you've ever had anybody on your show that knows anything about Black Robe Regiment. But, you know, back in
I just had Jeff Calhoun on last week.
Okay, so back in the 17 and 1800s, the preachers would preach from the pulpit on the headlines from the news and explain, you know, this is how you shouldn't live your life, or that, you know, and they would line it up with the Bible. There's so many churches today that are so far removed from what the scripture says that you can't find the truth in church. So those types of preachers are not going to probably be receptive to what I have to tell them, because I want Bible truth. If it's in the Bible, that's what I want to hear. And if it's not, forget it. If it's your opinion, So
no, I've met with there's a lot of pastors that have been meeting together here in West Virginia, and I think it's there's an alliance, and I actually met with them when I was campaigning, you know, and It's one thing when you're a candidate, it's always hard to get pastors and ministers to, meet with you because there's, fear of overstepping the lines with the, 501c3 and all of that. They can't endorse candidates. However, what Tactical Civics is doing is not partisan.
That's
It
right.
really is nonpartisan. So it should perfectly align with the people in church. And I would, so I'm glad to hear that there's a book about that on how to approach it. I'm going to definitely pick that up and take a look.
He also wrote King Jesus. That book's good. He has several books for Christians and our mission, it's a private organization on a Christian mission. Our mission is similar to, it's similar to our responsibilities as it's spelled out in the book of Romans. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, it is, and as a Christian American, you should be the gatekeeper. You should be the one with your eyes on the corruption.
Well, we've been given that authority, by the fact that we were born in this nation. If we were born somewhere else where we didn't have that authority, it'd be a different story, but we have that authority here. And so if we're not using it, it's almost like the parable of the talents, right? The one that, took the talent and buried it in the sand rather than doing something to, we have the opportunity to really help our country, to
That's right.
better and to turn around. But I do look at like America today, and I see so much of what we have going on, the corruption, this transgenderism that, is confusing our youth, the corruption in government, the lawfare. All of this to me is it's really the result of sin. And I think that we are, in a way, we're under God's judgment, and that's why we have bad leaders. And so I'm praying and asking for God for a revival, and that He will bring about that. A revival can't just be spiritual only. It needs to take place in government. It needs to take place in our military. It needs to take place in every aspect, of American life, and
That's
in our
right.
families especially. And so I do think that we have a chance for things to turn around, but we've got to put our faith in God. And then we've got to be willing to step up and say, okay, God, how do you want to use me? And be willing.
What can I do to help?
That's right. And it may be that, the Lord would call some of us to step up and start a chapter of Tactical Civics, or, get engaged in our communities in other ways. But I do believe that God would have us all be involved. I don't think that.
So if God's speaking to you now, you can go to Tactical Civics and get involved. And once you sign up, there will be someone that will do orientation with you, and then you can let them know, to what capacity you can help. Now, you may think, oh, I can't do public speaking. That's fine. But if you want to do something to help, jump in, because somebody in your community that can speak, somebody that's eloquent with their work. And you don't have to be eloquent. I mean, listen to me. I'm from Georgia. I have a Southern accent. So, if I can get the message across, then anybody else can too, right? So we just have to help each other and meet each other. What is your strength? And if God's calling you to do something, then by all means, listen to that voice, and if He's not telling you anything, just pray about it. And, it may be that it's not for you right now, but it could be for somebody that somebody that's retired, because we can't allow. Okay, so let me tell you this. Tactical Civics is for the everyday hardworking American. It's not for somebody that's in government. Okay, so you can be a veteran and be a member, but if you're in active duty, you cannot be a member. If you're a retired teacher, you can be a member, but if you're an active teacher, you can't be a member.
As a government employees, and there's a conflict there.
Yes.
So public officials. So like, had I won my election, I could not have, could not have.
No, because honestly, the government's not going to investigate the government, right?
No, that's what I've complained about the FBI for as long as I can remember, is that they're not going to investigate themselves, and the DOJ is not going to indict themselves. So
that's right.
Yeah.
So well, we've got a lot of work.
We're almost out of time, and Jennifer, I want to give you an opportunity for the last word. If there's anything that you want to, tell the audience, here's your chance.
Yeah, I would like to tell everybody, we are intelligent. We're more than capable. Take pride knowing that you've made it this far. You're here for a reason. Right now is one of the best times to be alive in history. And we're making history. We're going to do something good. And I would like to quote Ellen White too. She says, the greatest want of the world is the want of men who will not be bought or sold, men who in their innermost souls are true and honest, men who do not fear to call sin by its right name, and men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle is to the pole, and men who will stand for the right though the heavens fall. That's what we need. Our men like that, men and women. So,
yep. All right. Well, I'm going to close this out in prayer, and then we will end the show with the video that we always play. Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to talk with Jennifer, and I pray, God, that you would bless her ministry, Lord, in Georgia, and what she's doing with Tactical Civics there, Lord. I pray that you would spread this organization and what they're doing around the states and the different counties, that you would help it to be successful in re-empowering the people so that they can actually bring justice, Lord, where there's corruption, and they can have the opportunity to enforce the law where the laws are not being enforced. And Lord, we ask for your blessing, over all of those that are working to bring liberty to our country and others. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Nate.
Raise some cane. You gotta raise some cane. In the heartland where the faith runs strong, we've seen the shadows growing long. Watch those around us be deceived. Yeah, the fight is at our doors, no matter who we believe. Corruption, lawless day and night, we'll speak the truth into the light. We'll bring the battle, heed the call, watch the whole thing fall. We gotta raise some cane, show the lies, break some chains and make things right. Feel the power, be the change, time is now. We gotta raise some cane.